Hello everyone, welcome back to the Destination Baby and Kids YouTube channel. This is Gina, I am your host, and I am so excited to be here with you today to do a quick comparison video between the two strollers that you see behind me. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the original Butterfly from Bugaboo versus Butterfly 2. So before we launch in, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. You can like this video if you enjoy it. If you have questions or comments at the end, please feel free to leave them below. If it makes sense to share this video with family or friends, go ahead and share it. Sharing is caring. And if you're inspired from watching this and you really think this review is helpful and you want to go ahead and buy one of these products, if you head to my website, destinationbabykids.com, you can buy either model. They are both currently available directly on my website. All the colors are shown there. And again, that's destinationbabykids.com. The best way to show support for this YouTube channel and for this YouTuber is to go ahead and buy something directly from me. Like I said, we have a real store here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We can ship it right to you. It is free shipping. Thank you so much for watching. Let's launch in and talk about Butterfly from Bugaboo versus Butterfly 2. Okay, what are the differences? These look pretty similar. Well, they're similar but different. Obviously, Butterfly 2 is going to have some things built on criticisms that the original Butterfly had. So let's walk you through what those things are before we get into the statistical differences between the two models. So, biggest gripe on the older model was sort of twofold. The first being the tires were very, very small in the front of the stroller. So you can see here, and I'm going to bring this up to the camera to kind of show, the tires have a white wall and they are really, really little. Now this is great in terms of that it's nice and small, nice and compact. However, I would argue when you start to put a heavy kiddo in here, because this does hold 17.6 pounds in the basket and then 50 pounds in the seat, it's hard to turn and maneuver because those front tires are so little. The new version is going to have a significantly bigger tire. So what you're looking at here on the new guy, they've gotten rid of the white walls, which is really smart because they're going to get filthy when you're walking. So they've gotten rid of the white walls, and you're looking at a 5.5-inch front tire and then a 6-inch rear tire. So the tires on Butterfly 2 are bigger. The weight on both of the products is the same. So it's 16 pounds for either option. Now either option does have a single hand fold, which is very easy to fold up the strollers. I would argue that the buttons and the mechanisms on Butterfly 2, the buttons are a little bit bigger, easier to use. They're also not white. Why does that matter? This is my floor model, and I'm just going to bring this over to show you guys. White buttons are helpful to see what's going on, but you can probably see the dirt on here. I need to hit that with a magic eraser or with a Clorox wipe to help keep that clean. And again, they both will open one-handed quite easily. So no issue there with either of them. They both have a carry strap to go over the shoulder when they're folded. No question, Butterfly 2, the carry strap is 1,000 times easier to access and use. So one of the biggest criticisms of this old guy, aside from the white tires, was that it had a hard handle, white small tires, was that it had a hard carry strap for travel when it's meant to be a travel stroller. Now both of these are able to go into the overhead compartment. They are International Airline Travel Association compliant with overhead compartment. One thing that's going to be cool on the new version versus the old version is that if I want to adjust my foot plate here, this is a single-handed adjustment, both up and down. On the older model, the original Butterfly, the foot plate is a two-handed adjustment. So I cannot engage it unless I have two fingers pressing two white buttons on the side. The heel stirrup on the new model is a little easier to see as well. It's going to be a plastic frame versus a metal frame. So little differences between Butterfly and Butterfly 2. Also, canopies. They both have huge canopies. The older model has a mosquito net that's always open if you engage that canopy all the way. And what I mean by always open, it doesn't mean that bugs can fly in there. But what it does mean is that if I wanted sun coverage now, I actually have to close my canopy and zip this up. So I don't get as much sun coverage here if I want that piece closed off. On the new model, they clearly got feedback from customers that they hated that. So now they've gone ahead and put a little flap on that so you can have that either open or closed at your own discretion, and it doesn't affect the sun canopy usage. So I think this is a really nice feature on the new one that I wish the old one had. Another very cool feature, which I'm not sure if you guys can see, but on this older model, the harness is black. So we have the indigo color with a black harness. On the new model, it's indigo with indigo. And I didn't think that this was a very big deal until I saw it in person, and it actually looks gangbusters. So I think this is a very nice change for the type of customer who's going to buy this product. So it's just a little bit more correct in terms of it's meeting that jewel tone. So some major similarities, some major differences. Something that's the most interesting to me is that they do have the same recline on both models as they had before. And we'll get into that sort of here towards the end of the video. Okay, that being said, let's launch into the statistical differences, the stats between these two. Now, one thing that was interesting to me is that the older model, which is the Butterfly, has the taller backrest. So this is 22. Version 2 is a shorter backrest height. It's 21. They are both longer than like 95% of what's out there, so they both hold huge-bodied kids. And they both come with the removable washable liner. So that's included in either model. The liner on the new version is longer, so that's a little bit nicer for like dirty feet. Canopy clearance. So 21 inches on the backrest, 22 on the old one. They both have 26 inches of canopy clearance. Your harness height on the new one is 8.5 to 14.5. On the old guy, it's 9.5 up to 15.5. And of course that makes sense, right? Because it's an inch longer backrest, so it would go a little bit higher. The width on both of these is 12 inches. The seat depth, on the new one, it's 9 inches deep. On the old model, it's 10 inches deep. The crotch belt depth on the old model is 5 inches. The crotch belt depth on the new model is 4 inches. The extension on either one, which is this little piece here, is going to be 6 inches. So when you sit this up, on this guy, you're at about 16 inches. And when you sit this one up, you're at about 15 inches of like seat depth with the foot plate engaged. Now again, if I kick the foot plate down here, I need 2 hands, whereas here it is a single hand adjustment, which is very nice. The knee drop on either option is going to be 12 inches from the knee, from here going all the way down to the very bottom, but you do have a heel stirrup, again, at a 6-inch increment if you wanted to utilize that. The buckle type on both is the 5-point pop-off, meaning that they both have the harness pieces that will go around the kiddo's body that'll make it easy to take them in and out, and they are 5-point individual removal and hookup. So some people say that that looks stupid when they've never done it. I'll tell you, when there's a kiddo in here, doing these is actually pretty easy because they are all individual and you're not trying to hook them all up from like one thing simultaneously. The handle height. So the handle height on the old version is 40 inches. The handle height on the new version is 40.5. And this is just to show you guys, it is definitely slightly taller on the new one versus the old one. So if I put that there, maybe you can see more clearly, but hopefully that's helpful to see. They both weigh 16 pounds. The baskets of both will hold 17.6 pounds. The basket shelf size on the old guy is 13 by 19. The new one is 11.5 wide by 20. The front versus back opening on the new one is 7 in the front and 7 in the back. On the old guy, it's 7 in the front and 10 in the back. So the back opening on the older model is slightly more generous, but again, apples to apples, they're both very close. Neither one have a front wheel lock. Now here's, they both have a sandal-friendly brake, but as I pointed out, this new version has a black brake. So when you undo it, you're not getting filth all over the brake that people are able to see. And it is a sandal-friendly brake, which is very nice. The warranty on either is for 3 or 4 years. Price point difference. Okay, this is going to be kind of interesting. Our older version is $549. Our new version is $599. They both have the same recline and same upright. So I measured these with like an angle measurement ruler. I bought one specifically for travel strollers because I'm so sick of people asking, which one sits up the tallest? So our upright is 110 degrees. And our recline on both of these is going to be 145 degrees. Here's what's really interesting that's different between the two models. So I'm really serious about this because this is kind of surprising. This new model, Butterfly 2, they say is able to be used from birth. Okay, so they have the same degree of recline on both of these products. And they're saying the new version, if you wanted to put a baby in here, you could. They don't suggest it. Their suggestion is to use a car seat. But they absolutely advertise it as newborn ready. It is on their website as newborn ready. So it's a little bit interesting because it's conflicting, right? They say, well, it can work for a newborn, but don't necessarily use it that way. Please use a car seat. But yes, you could use a newborn if you wanted to. I think that's a little confusing. On the older model, and my floor model just looks like hell, but when there's weight in here, they really are the same recline. This one is 6 months plus. So if you were to buy a Butterfly, it'll have the same recline level, but this older model is only insured at a 6 months plus, where the new one would be for a newborn. Again, it might be that it passes tip tests more effectively with the larger tire. I'm not sure what the difference is, but it is just a big difference between the two. Whereas if you were in between the two versions and you were like, hey, I really want it to work for a newborn, if you pay up for the new model, you'll get that feature. Yeah, the seat is a little shorter, but you do get some additional features, I think, that are quite smart in terms of changes that they've made to the product, just responding to what customers have said. And as I pointed out, they both have an infinite recline where you can pull the backrest up to sit at a bunch of different heights. They both have the removable washable liner, which is really great. So very similar, but as I mentioned before, the larger tires on this new model means that this pushes, no question, much more smoothly and takes turns better than the older model. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see original Butterfly eventually go away here, and Butterfly 2 is what they're gonna have moving forward. But just very exciting little differences between both. They both have accessories you can buy for both models, for car seats, for older kids to stand and ride on the back, a backpack, a cup holder, front bar. So all these things are sold separately from Bugaboo. And as I pointed out, both of these would go into the overhead, no problem. And this shows them folded up so you guys can see similar but different, new versus old, lots of color choices. And if you were curious, you would go to destinationbabykids.com to purchase one of these fabulous products if it made sense for you. Okay, check out the individual video on Butterfly 2, and then check out my battle royale of travel strollers. That is a video I'm making that's going to talk about a lot of different travel strollers that can go in the overhead with statistical differences, including that recline and upright angle information. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in our next video.